Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Bob LaChance on the line, and he's a founder over at Riva Global. Bob, welcome to the show.
Adam, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, man, so this is a great topic today, one of my favorites. So scaling businesses through systems, delegations, and virtual assistants. We have not been talking about virtual assistants lately. I'm excited to get into what you're doing and also what's going on over at Riva Global. But before we do that, I'm curious on your end. So how did you get into business? I see the term founder.
Yeah, I actually played professional hockey for 8 years and then got into real estate back in 2004. And then investing myself, jumped into real estate education, helped start a couple businesses. Then 2014, started my first virtual assistant company. And now we're both in the medical space and in real estate. And I also have a real estate investment company. So that's the long and short.
How do you get that? I'm curious. I normally, there's a lot of different stories and ways that people get into real estate that sometimes are obvious, sometimes not. But how do you get into the virtual assistant business? That's interesting. How'd that happen?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I always say this when I talk to especially the younger generation, where you start is not where you finish. So I started as a pro hockey player and I left school 2 classes short of getting my degree. So it was either, when I made that transition, it was either jumping into an industry that you had no barriers of entry or going back to school. So I wanted to jump into, I wanted to start working because I was 30 when I retired. So jumped into real estate right away, and then it was interesting how paths go. I got into investing myself, met a couple individuals, and I wanted to start a real estate education company. So jumped in with them. We're partnering with those guys, and I saw a niche and a need in the industry with the students we were coaching, and that was they didn't have enough time in their day to fulfill the tasks that I was giving them to be successful. So I was always looking for a bunch of years on, is there another industry, is there a product or a service that I could refer them to that could help them? And then I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was back in 2013, and that's when the light bulb went off. And I said, you know what? There's a business somewhere here. So I hired my first virtual assistant, tested it, and I said, we can marry these two together, and then that's where it started.
Wow, what an amazing story. And so you felt that there was a business there, but, just because we feel like something doesn't mean it's easy. So what was the next step in growing this thing and getting into that space? Because from what I'm hearing, you hired the first one, so you didn't have a lot of experience with that area, but then you took it further. Like, what gave you that confidence? Like,
for me, it's always testing. I have to test something and make sure it works before I take the next step.
You're one of those. I give you much praise for that, Bob, because I'm not a tester. I have friends like you, Bob, and I'm like, hey, what are you testing lately, and does it work? And they're like, one of my business mentors, his name's Chris at ECF, I'll be like, did you take enough arrows in the back on this one? Like, is this something I should be doing, or are you still testing? So thank you for being a tester, because I know you have friends that you pass information to.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that, because when I was speaking on stage too back in the day, I had a short sale course in the real estate world, and I actually created it with my business partner, so I knew it worked. So when I spoke in front of the crowd, I knew if they had questions, I could answer it. So for me, it's always been very important to test things before I actually implement it. So I tested it. I had a business partner too at the time when we first launched it, and all my virtual assistants are in the Philippines today, and he had the ability to fly over there and start building the team, and I had the ability here to help grow it on the sales side. So it was a good mix, and that's how we got off the ground.
Man, that's awesome. I love hearing this. And so let's take a step back or forward, however we want to look at this. Maybe start by telling us a little bit more about Riva Global before we go any further.
Yeah, Riva Global is a virtual staffing company. It started off in the real estate space, and it's branched off into medical space. Virtual assistant world now, since COVID, is starting to really, really open up, because small businesses are more comfortable working with someone who's remote, whether it's in the United States, it's in another country. More and more of us, me included, are more comfortable working with someone that doesn't have to be in your office. And that, that started being more and more prevalent in, this is after COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with that. And I've always been a proponent of it. And I guess I just see the efficiencies of it, number one, but then I also see just for me, like whenever we've had, you have employees locally, you have them abroad. Like for us, we've just had with our business a better track record. Like some of the employees that we have that are abroad, they've been with us for, 5, 6, 7 years, yep. and they're integral parts of our company. Like we don't even look at them as assistants, like they're employees from the standpoint of how they're treated and what we do. Where do people go wrong when they head down that path? Especially, let's talk just for a moment on the person that hasn't done it yet, but then they're thinking about doing it, and like, where do they normally go wrong?
I hear a lot of people say the same thing. They say, I need help. I just don't know what help I need. So number one, when they're not clear on what tasks they want to outsource. So for instance, if it's lead generation, if it's social media marketing, you have to make sure you hone in exactly what it is. Is it in the medical space? Is it insurance verifications? Is it billing? Is it prior authorizations? What exactly is it? Is it front desk management? What exactly is that pain point in your business? So we have to identify what those pain points are. Maybe it's just overhead, right? Because, we know that costs continue to go up. Minimum wage is getting out of control in the United States. So that's one of the things. And costs we find for a lot of small businesses, even medium-sized businesses, the costs continue to go up for us, and a lot of it's labor costs.
You know what I've always thought? I agree with everything you said, but what I've always thought is so unfair is when it's almost like people create this other brain when they start thinking about using a virtual assistant. It's like, think about your normal business. Let's say that they weren't a virtual assistant. If you're going to hire somebody, you got to have something for them to do. That's a very basic level. You got to have something for them to do, or you're not going to hire, right? So it's like, if you think about it that way, then it sounds silly, but you're right. You are 100% right. I've had this conversation with other people. It's like, well, you're hiring somebody, so you got to have like something for them to do. You have to teach them their job. They're not going to come in and know your business. It's just, if you hired somebody that worked locally down the street from you and they're moving from Starbucks to your company, would you not train them? Are you not going to tell them? Do you have any SOPs built for them? Do you have anything, or do you expect that person to just come in and, hey, fix my problems? That's so ridiculous.
Correct, and have a job description. Yeah, and have a job description. We could, think about this, Adam. I mean, everybody now has access to the most incredible tools called AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude.
Yeah.
You could write out a job description in literally half a second, and it's going to spit out the tasks that we need help with. And if you prompt it correctly, then, you have everything you need. So anybody who is kind of confused or nervous about outsourcing, it should be a lot easier and more comfortable for us as small businesses to do that.
I love that you say that, because that's a big win, and I've been thinking about that as well. Like when they're doing that, especially even something as simple as a job description. Now there's no excuse. Once upon a time, though, it was rough. I remember helping somebody that were going down that path of their first, and I'm like, why are you acting like you don't know how to run a business? You already have all these other employees. Just think about it like it's an employee. Like, what would you do?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Right. Well, and hiring's tough enough, right? We all know.
Absolutely.
I mean, hiring here in the United States is more and more difficult because I have a couple of businesses here in the U.S., and when we hire, it's more difficult than me to hire on the virtual assistant side because we already have a system all set up with a recruiting team, sourcing team, everything over there. But here it's a little more difficult because I live in Connecticut, and everyone wants more money than, unfortunately, they're worth at the time when you hire them because of the way, society is right now. So it gets very, very challenging for all of us. I'm not the only one. I think for every single one of us in the U.S.
I'm in California. Who are you talking to? Come on, go ahead.
Exactly. Well, you know more than anybody.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
I'm curious, Bob, let's take this conversation a step further. So we've talked about some of the basic things. I'm curious what, because some people, let's talk about capability and what you've seen. So go a little bit further into, okay, we've used the word virtual assistant because that's what people do, VAs. That's just kind of like the term. But if we think about what that actually encompasses. And if we change like lead generation, follow-up, transaction coordination, higher level functions, can you just talk about like, so people can wrap their head around this, like what that means, especially for those that haven't used it, or maybe those that maybe have kind of like not revisited the idea of like, wait a minute, I can use a different type of outsourced help to do a higher level function that maybe they didn't even think was possible.
Yeah, so I'll give you a very good example. You know, you see, and I could use real estate or medical. I'll use medical because it makes a lot of sense. So when you go into a medical office, you have individuals that are sitting there in the front desk. A lot of times those are nurses. So they have 17 different tasks, and if they're pulled away from that front desk, now they're missing calls. They have to sit on phone doing insurance verifications, prior authorizations. Sometimes those take 45 minutes. And could you imagine the patient experience when a patient walks in? Instead of serving them and actually taking them and taking all the information, making them feel good, they're sitting there on the phone for 45 minutes to where if they have to hang up, now they have to start over from that task again from step one. So those individuals, you're using such a high cost individual to do tasks that can be outsourced at a fraction of the cost, and allows that nurse to really work and focus on patient care, as an example.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. Talk a little bit about lead gen. I'm curious about the sales front of this in general, or not even just lead gen specifically if you want to, great, but just sales. And so you gave one example. Give one on the how do we grow? Like how do we grow the bottom line, or how do we grow sales?
And we have a lot of individuals that actually work. Let's talk about the real estate side now. It's marketing, sales, lead generation, right? So on the branding side, when you jump in, we have an AI managed service. So we use AI, we use our virtual assistants that go out to all social media. We do posts every day. We do lead generation. The basic and the end goal is to set appointments. So how it works in my office is we have virtual assistants that are doing branding for our business, and they also do the lead generation side. So if they come in, they pre-screen those leads and they send them to our closers. So the way I love using virtual assistants, not as a sales closer, but as an appointment setter, because I feel, and what I've experienced is nobody's gonna know your business like you or your closers in your office. So that's the way I see it, and that's the way it's worked for years upon years.
I totally agree with you, and I'll tell you what's interesting to me on this one. And this is all like, let's take the word virtual assistant out, and it's like any other business. So for example, some of our, like that was our initial thought process too. Like it started a certain level function, but then just like any other company, promote from within. If somebody shows the aptitude, the will, and the understanding, and who knows, you may get that diamond in the rough that ends up being a freaking closer, because closers are hard in any business. I don't care where you're hiring them at. Like a real closer, that's worth its weight in gold. I mean, the closers make 100%. Sure everybody eats. So you don't know who's going to, we've had some people that were longer term with us, and they've been with us many times. They're like, you know what, I want to give this a shot, and give them an opportunity. You're like, holy smokes, Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Fearless. So a closer, I don't care where they're coming from. If they're doing it, right?
Absolutely. And the cream rises to the top all the time. Absolutely. In any industry. And those individuals will show their worth over time, especially when you give and pour into your team.
I love that concept. I think that's a good way to leave this one off. So as long as you're pouring into your team, regardless of where they're located. Love that. Bob, how do people follow up if they want to learn more about Riva Global? How do they connect with you and your team?
Absolutely. You can check us out on our website at rivaglobal.com, REVA global.com. We also have another website, if you're interested in the medical side, rivaglobalmedical.com. So check us out. We're also on a bunch of social networks. So if you need anything, just reach out. You can set up a strategy session.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes, so you can just click on the links and head right on over and connect with Bob and his team. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow. And Bob, been an absolute pleasure. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.